Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle, and today it is August 2nd. It's about a little after 5 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be going over my PPR top 100 list. I just made this morning, was kind of tweaking it in and out throughout the day. This is a free article on the fantasyfellowship.com. So if you guys look in the link in the description below, there's a link to this article where you can view my top 100. I'm not even throwing a bonus, 125. So there's 25 extra names in this top 100, and we're just going to kind of read it. We're going to go down through it and just kind of, I'll tell you what I'm thinking as I navigate through each round. And again, this is a free article on the fantasyfellowship.com. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe. Before we get into it, I'm just going to say we're going to kind of reference some Fantasy Pros ADP. It's a consensus ADP. They use ESPN. I don't know what RT Sports is, but Fantrax and an FF calculator. So we do have some average draft position data here. But let's get into it. This is my top 24 of the list here. On the left is the first round column. On the second is on the right is the second round column. So I have 4 running backs to lead off my top 100. That's Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, and Derrick Henry. I think there's a kind of an order that I would do this. Of course, Christian McCaffrey is he's the clear-cut number one, I think, with my projections, which if you want access to my projections, there is a link for the draft kit in the description below. But McCaffrey was well ahead of the rest of the field. I think he's about 31 points more than Kamara and Cook. I have Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook separated at 2 and 3 by just a few points, maybe 22 points. So I think if you get the number 2 pick, it's between Kamara, Cook. Don't worry too much. Just pick a good player. You're going to get someone there that's going to be very, very good at fantasy football. So Kamara or Cook, I think they're interchangeable, based on your perspective, your preferences, whatever you need. And then Derrick Henry comes in at number 4. That Tennessee offense, we know it's going to be really good. Adding Julio Jones, just another year of a healthy A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry's looking locked and loaded there. So that's my top 4 running backs. And then as we get through this, you're going to kind of see that I kind of started to chunk it into tiers. So you're going to slowly see my tiers develop. So we have the top 4, and then after that, I think you can make questions at any other running back in the list here. So I decided to put Devonte Adams as the wide receiver 1. I mean, last season, Devonte Adams was just a flat-out monster. What did he have? 18 touchdowns last season, something like that. Just an insane amount of touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers. Now that Rodgers is back, you're going to see Adams' ADP slowly climb up. I think he's the clear-cut wide receiver 1. He's going to lead that team in pretty much every receiving category that you can. He's got Aaron Rodgers connected to him. It's just a kind of a no-brainer. You could make an argument for Tyreek Hill or Diggs, but I just give me Devonte Adams. He's the top receiver in the game right now. And then after that, I kind of have Ezekiel Elliott kind of stood out to me as my RB5. He has a little less questions for me compared to the other running backs in this. And then if you look at the first 5 games from Ezekiel Elliott last season, with a healthy Dak Prescott, it was a really good stretch run. I think he was RB1 or RB2. Kamara might have had some big points in there, but Ezekiel Elliott, if everything's healthy with the Cowboys offense, he's a top 5 upside back. So I like him here at number 6. Travis Kelsey, he's the first tight end off the board. He's worth a mid first round pick, and he provides a huge advantage. Actually, I want to pull up I just want to pull up FF today, and we'll kind of go over the scoring from last season. I want to just show you how much of a position advantage he is. And I think if you're doing your research now, you kind of know that for the most part, there is an advantage to taking tight end early. If you don't get one early, you wait to the very end. So last season, Kelsey averaged 20.8 fantasy points in PPR leagues. That's almost 3.5 points more than Darren Waller. So if you get one of these top guys, you're going to be getting massive advantages because just look at the fantasy points per game. Kelsey at 20.8, Waller 17.5, and then it drops down. Number 3, Robert Tunian, 11.8. So you're gaining, if you draft Kelsey, you're going to be almost averaging 8 to 10 points more than whoever else is tight end besides Darren Waller and maybe George Kittle. So the advantage for Kelsey is really, really strong. And then I have the other 2 receivers, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. I don't really have a preference as to which one. Grab your favorite wide receiver. I think they're both top 5 receiver locks. They're some of the safest receivers in the game. Adams, Hill, Diggs. I don't care which one. You can make an argument for each guy to be the number 1 wide receiver. I'm just making sure that they stick out in my rankings as the 8th and 9th best options. And then you get to this huge running back tier. I have from basically RB6 all the way to RB13. So Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Sajuan Barkley, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris. Now, all of these guys do have running back 1 upside. I guess RB1 upside is in top 10, top 12 running backs. But for some reason, all of these guys look better 2. So sometimes you see guys like Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb fall to round 2. Austin Eckler, Mixon, Gibson, and Najee are pretty much all in the round 2 range of outcomes right now. But I see Sajuan Barkley going 4th, 5th overall. Sometimes you see Jonathan Taylor going 6th, 7th overall. That just seems way too high to me, especially with the news that just has broken the last couple of days of training camp. Carson Wentz is he just had surgery today. We don't know when we're going to see him back. They're saying 5 to 12 weeks. Like, that doesn't really help us out much at all. So Jonathan Taylor in the Colts offense, I downgraded most of my Colts players, Jonathan Taylor included. If they are going to be running out Jacob Eason, the teams are just going to load up the box on that running game and make him throw the ball. So Jonathan Taylor, he is my running back 11. 15th player off the board. Again, I'd rather have some more surefire things. Austin Eckler in PPR sounds ridiculously good. Joe Mixon's going to catch a lot more passes than Jonathan Taylor would anyways. And then guys like Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, I think outside of the top 5, Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, those are probably my 2 favorite running backs to take. So if you're sitting there at number 12 in a PPR league and you can somehow start your draft with Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, I think you're going to have a really fun season and just complementing each other. Aaron Jones is going to be a really good PPR back. Nick Chubb's going to be a much better running back than the receiver. So those two complement each other really well. And then Sajuan Barkley sitting at number 12 in my rankings. Again, he's kind of a consensus top 5, top 6. I think Fantasy Pros has him as the 5th overall pick. I just don't like that he's not fully healthy right now. They just signed Alfred Morris today. There's been a lot of bad buzz around Daniel Jones in this offense. When I hitch my team, to a first round, my fantasy team is getting hitched to a player in the first round. I want a really good offense. So, one of the Chiefs players, one of the Packers players, the Cowboys, and then you kind of have the unicorns in McCaffrey, Kamara, Cook. Those guys, and Henry, I guess, for that matter. Those guys are unicorns. They can transcend bad talent. But Saquon, just with the injury history plus the really not exciting New York Giants this season, just has me questioning him. So I have him down at RB12. And then, we got the huge list of running backs. I love Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, round 2. Those are some of my favorite mid-round running backs to take. And then you get to the fun little group of receivers here. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Justin Jefferson. Try to get one of these guys. If you decide to pass on Tyreek, Diggs, and Adams within that first round, and you're sitting in that mid to back end of the second, you got to try to get one of these receivers. And one thing I want to make sure I note that is, even though I have Calvin Ridley one spot higher than DeAndre Hopkins, if you like DeAndre Hopkins, you can totally do that. These are kind of tiers, and they're kind of shiftable. Would it surprise me if Justin Jefferson finished as the wide receiver 4? Absolutely not. So I'm kind of just more caring about trying to get into the right ranges of some of these players. And then for me, I just rank them as to my preference at the moment right now. But DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, these guys are top 5, upside wide receivers. So try to get these players on your team. And then I finished the second round here with Darren Waller and George Kittle. Again, just because we talked about the tight ends with Kelsey, you're probably going to see George Kittle somewhere in the 16, 17 points per game range. Waller might even improve into the 18, 19s, and Kelsey's going to be right around there too. So you're getting 3 amazing tight ends that are going to be probably 5 to 6 points better than 3rd and 4th. So tremendous advantage for those tight ends. And then it kind of we had the little drop off there. So that's the first 24. The top 20, top 25 through 48 players here, we are looking at guys, a little running back run here that if any of these running backs fall to you round 3, I'm giving you permission to hit the submit button. It doesn't really matter what your roster construction was those first 2 rounds. I don't care. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Carson, David Montgomery. All 4 of these guys should finish as running back 2s this year. But, man, if you can get the value of them as your RB3, say you start your draft with McCaffrey and you come back and you get Edwards and Dobbins, I'm feeling pretty good about that. 3 really good running backs. And, again, if you start your draft any other which way, and one of these guys, like sometimes Montgomery falls in the 3rd, sometimes Chris Carson's hanging around there. I'm a big fan of all of these guys as my RB3, but they look, again, fine as your RB2. And then we get to the best part of round 3, 4, which is the massive wide receiver run. You can see I have wide receiver 9 all the way through 18 stacked up in a massive tier. So basically with this tier, I feel really good about the top half of this tier. That's Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen. And then I guess I group Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Those guys all here on the left-hand side of the column, I feel really good about these guys. And I could see any of them finishing as top 10, top 12 wide receivers. Again, I put my money on Robinson, McLaurin, Woods, and Lamb probably first, maybe even Keenan Allen. But no problem if you want to just pencil in, take your favorite wide receiver round 3. think that's a really good move. And then as you get into the fourth round, Amari Cooper. There's questions about his ankle. It sounds like he's going to be good to go in a couple weeks. So we're watching for his training camp reports. He could probably boost back up into the top 3 or top 36. Deontay Johnson expected to lead the Steelers in receptions and yards this season, maybe even touchdowns again. And then you have Miles Sanders here, who's kind of this standalone running back that I have. I'm nervous about Philly. They just put Devonta Smith on the shelf for the next 2 to 3 weeks with a knee injury. We might see Miles Sanders leaned on heavily with Jalen Hurts. And Sanders actually looked pretty good for fantasy with Jalen Hurts in that 4-game sample last year. So Sanders, round 4, I mean, I suppose if you wanted to take him at the end of round 3, I'm fine with that. But I think I feel more comfortable with the receivers that I listed ahead of him. Tyler Lockett and Juju Smith-Schuster, kind of boom-bust players, but Juju's going to rack up 90-some catches. Tyler Lockett's going to rack up those catches. We just don't know what weeks it's all going to happen on. So kind of 2 boom-bust guys there that could make or break it. If you don't like those receivers, you can maybe wait the 5th round. There's going to be another group there too. But if you don't like these receivers, Kyle Pitts, DeAndre Swift, take a quarterback, Mahomes, Murray, Josh Allen. And then I finished my top 48 with 2 interesting running backs, Darrell Henderson, that is starting running back for the Los Angeles Rams, and Josh Jacobs. These guys seem kind of hard to trust. I feel best with them as my RB3 or a flex, but they could, produce as running back 2s. And then we get into my 49 through 72 rankings. And this is really fun. You're going to see 2 tight ends in this group, and you're going to see 6 quarterbacks. The quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, and Lamar Jackson. Try to create a draft plan where you get one of these guys, and if you miss on one of those guys, you're totally cool with getting Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert in the following round. But for me, my quarterback draft strategy is I want to take a quarterback, but I don't want to be the first one. The only way I'm going to be the first one to take a quarterback is if I get Mahomes, Murray, or Allen to fall to me in that 5th or that 6th round. That 5th, 6th round is when I like to start thinking about my quarterback. And if Mahomes is there, then that's sweet. I get the quarterback 1. But in the 5th and 6th round, you should be thinking about a quarterback. You're going to want to get a guy that has top 5 upside being drafted outside of the top 5. So Rodgers, Prescott, Lamar, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert. Those are probably my 6 favorite quarterbacks to target in drafts right now. Or we wait till the back end of the quarterbacks. But anyways, what else is in this tier of 49 to 72? You got the Carolina receivers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Those guys can both perform as wide receiver 2s, but if you can plug them in as your wide receiver 3, that's really good news. Adam Thielen's going to catch a lot of touchdowns again this year. Jamar Chase. Don't really know how the Bengals receivers are all going to shake out. I do have T. Higgins in this same group that we're looking at right now. But Jamar Chase, especially with the love affair with Joe Burrow, it's going to be a good year for Chase. I don't think he's going to lead the team in receptions, but I can see yards and touchdowns being his categories to own there. TJ Hawkinson sticks out as the lone tight end for me round 5. And then you get a little burst of running backs. This is Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt. These guys are all really cheap running back 2s. So if you wanted to kind of start your first 4 rounds and you get 1 running back in those first 4 rounds, I think you could legit plug in Gaskin, Davis, or Kareem Hunt as your RB2. Expect 10 to 11, 12 points as a floor. But these are just nice pieces that you can plug in as your 5th round pick, and you can still expect some good numbers from these guys as top 25 running backs. We have another little boost of wide receivers. That's Odell Beckham, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, Julio Jones, Michael Gallup, Deebo Samuel. I think you need to take a stand on these players. That's Odell, Ayuk, Higgins, Jones, Gallup, and Deebo. You probably need to draft one of these receivers. I think the San Fran offense is going to be really good. So if you miss on Kittle, you're going to want Ayuk or you're going to want Deebo. If you miss on Amari or CeeDee Lamb or Zeke, you're going to want Michael Gallup. You want to tie yourself to some of these really good offenses. Same thing with Cincinnati. If you miss on Jamar Chase, you can always get, Tyler Boyd around later. But T. Higgins, I think a lot of people are forgetting just how good he was. If you look back at his numbers with Joe Burrow, he was the top, 20 wide receiver last year. So we're getting a little bit of a discount just because Jamar Chase is there now. But I really like what you're getting with those receivers there. Mark Andrews is the standalone guy in the 6th round. I don't love Mark Andrews. I think I'd prefer, if I'm going to draft a tight end in the 5th or 6th, just give me Hawkinson. And sometimes Hawkinson falls to the 6th, which is cool too. But I think that's kind of where I'm going. I like Pitts. I like Hawkinson. But I'm okay with passing on Mark Andrews, especially if I'm up to pick and I'm looking at Gallup or Higgins or one of the quarterbacks. I'm gonna go that route all day. And then we finished the 6th round here with Travis Etienne, James Conner, and Chase Edmonds. Etienne, they're going to try to force as much touches as they can to him. He's their 1st round draft pick. New coaching staff. They don't really. James Robinson was a 7th round, or he's a he wasn't last year. Brand new coach, brand new everything on that Jacksonville team. I think they're going to push ETN as far as they can in PPR leagues. And then the Arizona running backs, James Conner, Chase Edmonds. We're really interested in that running back spot in Arizona. I think Conner can step right into the Kenyon Drake role, get a lot of 5-10 yard touches, and then Conner should be the main ball carrier, but Chase Edmonds is going to definitely lead them. Between the two, he's going to have more reception. So both guys can be, fringe RB2s, flex-worthy running backs with some upside there. And then as we get to kind of the meat of the depth here, picks number 73 through 100, which is kind of the 7th through the 8th round. I got a bunch of running backs here at the top. I think all these guys are really good running backs to just put on your bench. Ronald Jones, Melvin Gordon, James Robinson, Damian Harris, Michael Carter. These guys don't feel good as starters, when you draft your team, but as the first week or 2, 3 go on, you're going to get some data points on these players and things could emerge. But again, all 5 of those guys have some really good upside as potential top 25 running backs. We have a huge list of wide receivers here. And I kind of like that list of receivers that I said you got to probably draft one of them from. This list has Antonio Brown, Tyler Boyd, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, Chase Claypool, and Jerry Jeudy. I would try to get as many, like this left side column from 73 to 86, try to get as many players as you can from this column. I like so many players. A handful of running backs here, but I love Antonio Brown. Tyler Boyd's going to catch a lot of passes. Laviska's going to catch a lot of passes. I think DJ Chark can be a really good receiver. He's going to probably be a little more inconsistent. Same can be said for Chase Claypool. And Jerry Jeudy. I have Jerry Jeudy over Cortland Sutton right now because there's just some videos going around of Cortland Sutton kind of being slow and not as Cortland Sutton right now coming off his injury. He looks good on air, but when he has to deal with a defender, he's a little bit slower. He's not as physical as he can be coming off that injury. So I'm watching for Jerry Jeudy to take over. I like Noah Fant a lot as a tight end in the 7th, 8th round. Logan Thomas is another guy. Curtis Samuel over in Washington. He's on the PUP list with the groin injury. He also is on the COVID list. He's just not practicing with his new team. I just think Fitzpatrick's going to be dealing to Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin. And then you got Trey Sermon here, who's actually been kind of the lead ball carrier for San Francisco. Followed up right here by Rahim Moser. I think both those guys can be RB2 flexes depending on how things go. Javonte Williams, Kenyon Drake. That's kind of the little round of running backs here at the start of the 8th round. You have receivers, Cortland Sutton, Kenny Golladay, Brandon Cooks, Jarvis Landry. I don't feel great taking any of these guys, but as your wide receiver 3-4, you could, be okay with that. I think Cooks is kind of sleeping with a lot of the targets that he could have in the Houston offense. Again, not a good team this year. We're expecting them to throw the ball a lot. Jarvis Landry, somehow he's always disrespected, and he ends up as a top 36 wide receiver. You got a couple running backs here, Leonard Fournette, A.J. Dillon. To me, they're both kind of backups, but again, if anything happens to Ronald Jones or Aaron Jones, you're looking at a beast for volume there. And then the quarterbacks, these are kind of the last guys that I view as quarterback ones. That's Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford. If you miss on some of the quarterbacks early, I'm totally cool with trying to snag 1 or 2 of these guys to make a duo and play matchups with. And then we finish our top 100 with Robert Tunian and Tyler Higbee. Again, Tunian was number 3 tight end last year with Aaron Rodgers back in the mix. Tunian caught double-digit touchdowns. That offense, it just sounds like in training camp, Tunian's been left wide open by the defense a lot. Just with all the attention to Aaron Jones, Devonte Adams, MVS's deep speed, Tunian gets left open a lot. So he should be having another 8 to 10 touchdown season. And then Tyler Higbee. Matthew Stafford's in town. Should be a fun year for Tyler Higbee. And then here's the bonus content. 101 through 125, I'm just going to read them off real quick. Once you get into the 10th round, there's kind of no rules. Just grab your players, grab the positions you need. I have the list of tight ends here: Dallas Goedert, Irv Smith, Mike Gesicki, Jonnu Smith. All these guys can be top 10 tight ends. I usually advise taking, if you don't get a top 4 or 5 tight end, you're going to end up taking 2 or 3 good ones. Here's a list of receivers: Mike Williams, Darnell Mooney, Will Fuller, Mecole Hardman. Really, really interested in this group of receivers. I think you need to probably get at least 1, if not 2 of those guys. We have another kind of quarterback 2s. Like if you're in Superflex, Matt Ryan, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins. I really like all these guys. And then some backup running backs: Naheem Hines, Zach Moss. Who knows what's going on with the Buffalo situation? He could be their lead ball carrier, but it sounds like it's still going to be a committee in Buffalo. David Johnson, Tony Pollard, Latavius Murray. And then you get some interesting receivers. Marquis Brown dealing with what did he have? He had a knee injury. No, the hamstring for Marquis Brown came up today. He's going to be out of practice for a couple of weeks. It sounds like a speedster with a hamstring injury. I do not like. I don't know we're going to see the full a full like month or two to heal, and if he's going to be wrapping it back up for the season, we might not see a healthy Marquis Brown all season. Traquan Smith, Devonta Smith, again, he's got the sprained knee right now. He's not going to be practicing for the next 2-3 weeks. Curtis Samuel still not on the field. Henry Ruggs, interesting deep ball threat, probably better for best ball leagues, but we'll see. Marvin Jones, he's the cheapest of the Jacksonville receivers, and he's also the only receiver that has had a history with the offensive coordinator. So something to take away. Emmanuel Sanders, interesting veteran with Buffalo. I think it sounds like Emmanuel Sanders. I should probably spell his name right. But Sanders is kind of the wide receiver too, it sounds like, in Buffalo. So he's the guy that ends up on my team a lot lately. Devontae Parker, I think they just activated him off the PUP list. And then James White, just for PPR purposes. Rex Burkhead's out of town. He should get a lot of work. So that's my top 100. If you made it to the very end, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you are new. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I try not to tell people what to do with a lot of these videos and these rankings and things. I try to group things and try to give you guys the decision, and I kind of just guide things and just give you guys where I'm seeing the value and when to kind of do it. But there's a lot of wrong answers, but there's also a lot of right answers. So I'm trying to more so guide you guys to the pool of players that I like, and we can go from there. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.